pole. I like that. Welcome back. Welcome back to Looking for Team with Jackzilla. We haven't watched the Premier League title race yet, so we can't really tell you about that experience relative to the previous episode. But we're back with another team. And this team, we actually have watched. We're going to talk about the Indiana Pacers.
Go.
So you watched a game between the Indiana Pacers and the Milwaukee Bucks, at the end of it at least, before we wanted to catch that Mavericks-Clippers game.
5 minutes of that Pacers game was better than the hour of the Maverick-Clippers game.
Yeah, went into overtime. Some big shots by the Pacers down the stretch to seal that one. And they end up upsetting the Bucks in the first round. Albeit it's a little bit Mickey Mouse because Giannis Antetokounmpo was hurt in that series. So was Damian Lillard for a little bit.
What I learned from the Clippers presentation is that avoiding players being injured is part of a winning strategy.
It's a skill. Availability is the best skill, some people say. So, the Indiana Pacers, they're going to take that to the bank. They're now playing against the New York Knicks in a series. They're approaching Game 7 of that series, the final game of the series. And so it's an exciting time to be a Pacers fan. Mm-hmm. And you have a bit of a connection to Indiana. You went to college in Bloomington.
That's right.
Did you have any experience with the Pacers while you were there at all?
No, I'm pretty sure that they were, I don't know, Indiana basketball was in a weird transition point where IU had just had an amazing season in 2013, I believe, coming short in I think it's the NCAA title.
Yeah.
And I was looking forward to getting back into basketball. I'd gotten season tickets my freshman year, and I crashed my bike going to pick them up, realized that I had done something wrong and screwed it up, and I just kind of swore off the whole thing, and the team then sucked for the rest of the season, and still sucks. And now Purdue is the basketball team to beat in Indiana, which is just an affront to God.
Yeah.
So
you're not getting on your bike again for that shit,
Everywhere I go, things go to shit. So I did not look too much at the Pacers. I don't think that they were very good in that 2013 to 2017 time.
Well, they were kind of good. But there's a pattern with the Pacers that maybe keeps you from fully enjoying them. They're a bit of a Lucy with the football type team, Jack. And I'm sorry that I'm giving you another one here. But
an analogy that I use often.
Yes, you've been rocking that one quite a lot lately. And the Pacers, they're just one of those teams. And maybe the most disappointing thing about that is that they came from a league that they dominated. So they were initially a team in the ABA. The ABA was formed to challenge the NBA, and according to a lot of the owners at the time, their goal was ultimately to merge with the NBA. They wanted to create enough of a foothold that the NBA would be forced to buy them out, essentially. And it was kind of cool. They played with a red, white, and blue ball. It was different. It was edgy. They had a different shot clock rule. I think it was 30 seconds or something. So, I don't know. They had some gimmicks, but the league was pretty damn successful. I think most leagues like this that pop up, we kind of think of them as, they're like jokes, like the XFL or, the AAF in football. It doesn't work, right? But the ABA, they found something there. It was much cheaper and much quicker to franchise a team in the ABA than the NBA. And, these teams were promised, hey, we're going to make this happen. We're going to get big talent, and you're going to get a big payday when this merge hits. And they did get great talent. They were able to lure away 17 future Hall of Famers to the league, including Dr. J, Julius Erving, who I don't know if you've heard of, but he was maybe at the time the best basketball player in the world. And he was in the ABA. So this was a serious league. when we talk about the ABA contemporarily, we hold those accomplishments for those players like at the same level as the NBA. Like if people made an ABA All-Star team, we kind of treat that as the same as making an NBA All-Star team, you know? So
with the All-Stars, did they ever play the ABA
yeah,
All-Star?
they did. They played ABA NBA All-Star games during this time. Yeah. And the ABA they were competitive, you know? So, in that context, the Pacers were the best team in the league. They won the ABA championship in 3 of the 9 years that the league was in existence. And you'll see down here, these attendance numbers for that time period. The Pacers compared to the Pistons. Now, the Pistons, Detroit at the time is a city that's 2 times the size of Indianapolis. And the Pacers are outperforming them in attendance pretty much every year in this smaller league.
Yeah, but that's Indiana basketball, you know.
Yeah, that's just the spirit. They're first of all, they're a good team, you know, and Indiana, it's just a basketball state.
They go crazy for high school basketball.
Yeah, they love it there, which is something that I don't know. It's appealing to me.
Yeah,
you know, like if that were Arizona, that would be a point of pride for me. You know, like I would love being a part of like a basketball culture like that. And so the Pacers, they've got that in their back pocket. You know, they're the best team in the basketball state. You know, so yeah, they do really well in the ABA. And then the merge hits in 1976, and there are a few things about this merge that make it difficult for these teams to compete. So they have to pay a $3.2 million entry fee, which it's like a decent chunk of money. Like, you know, that's a couple of good players maybe that you could get for that money at the time. They also have to compensate the 2 teams that were not allowed to merge. The Spirit of St. Louis and the Kentucky Colonels. God, I wish the Kentucky Colonels were part of the fucking NBA now. But they were not allowed to merge. And so the Pacers had to pay their share of compensating them, buying them out of the league. Mm-hmm. They weren't allowed to accrue any broadcast revenue for their first 4 years in the league. And that's rough. That's a big source of money for them. It's just part of the deal. The NBA doesn't... These owners, they don't want this new competition taking money away from them in these broadcast deals, you know? And so, anything... The owners practically own the league in all of the American sports leagues, you know? Anything that isn't voted on by 75% of the owners is not going to happen. And so, they put their foot down and say, you're not getting this TV money for 4 years.
It's what the founders wanted.
Yeah.
They wanted the billionaires to have 75%.
Exactly.
Yeah, anything.
That's right. And the Pacers struggled. They failed to win a playoff series until 1994. So they languish in obscurity here for a good 16 years, pretty much. In the midst of that, they get Reggie Miller. Have you heard of Reggie Miller before?
Heard of Reggie Miller.
Yeah.
It's a nice face. I've seen his face.
Yeah, he's an interesting figure in the NBA. You know, he's definitely a great player. He's a 5-time All-Star. He's a Hall of Famer. He played his entire career with the Pacers, which is very respectable. That doesn't happen very often. 18 years he spends with the Pacers. And he has the 3rd most three-pointers of all time. Reggie Miller...
Not as a percentage, just total.
Total, yeah. Okay. I think if you look at Reggie Miller's numbers, he doesn't jump off of the page as like a very great player, but I think he was maybe underutilized in this time. As you know, the NBA has become a three-point shooting league. Three-point shooting volume has increased immensely, especially over the past 10 years. And maybe in today's NBA, Reggie Miller is a top-tier player. Yeah. But I don't really think that he is in this time, unfortunately. And
he was born in the wrong generation.
Yeah, and to add to that, his career largely coincides with one Michael Jeffrey Jordan, and he is largely overshadowed by the Bulls and the Pistons, especially in this first part of his career. He can't get past the first round for these 4 years between 90 and 93.
Well, they're not even getting eliminated by the Bulls.
Right, they're not making it to them.
He didn't even get to fight Mr. Jordan.
They lost to the Pistons here, who did go on to win the title in 1990. Yep. But yeah, they're not even making it there. They're not even making it to the Bulls. They're like a middling team. 500 record. One game under 500. 500 record here. You know? They're very mid at this time. But Reggie makes an all-star team in 1990, which is the first time in 14 years that a Pacer does that. But he doesn't make it again until 1995. None of these seasons are all-star seasons, you know? He's just kind of a pretty good player on a mid-team at this time period. But a golden opportunity hits. In 1994, Michael Jordan, who is sad about his dad dying, goes and decides to play minor league baseball. And he's out of the league for the entire 1994 season. And he comes back late in 1995, and they never really get it going. But here's what happens to the Pacers during this time period. So in 1994, they sweep young Shaq and the Orlando Magic in round 1. Good series win. Then they upset the Hawks. The Hawks were the number 1 seed. They're the best team in the Eastern Conference. And the Pacers beat them. But then they play against the New York Knicks. And Reggie goes off in Game 5. He has a great Game 5. He hits 5 3-pointers in the fourth quarter. And he does this. He makes this choking gesture at Spike Lee, who is a movie director.
I know Spike Lee.
Yeah, big Knicks fan. He's sitting courtside. Yeah. And he says, your Knicks, they're choking. They're done for. Yeah. They weren't done for. The Knicks won the next 2 games, and the Pacers lost in the conference finals. The next year, they played the same teams in a different order. They sweep the Hawks in the first round. They get revenge on the Knicks that year. They win in Game 7. But then they end up losing to young Shaq and Penny Hardaway and the Magic in Game 7 of the conference finals again.
Everybody's getting revenge.
Yeah. And the Houston Rockets win the title both of these years. So, it doesn't even matter, this East playoffs, because Hakeem Olajuwon and the Rockets just stomp everyone.
Yeah.
And they keep coming back. They keep knocking at the door. They lose in the Eastern Conference Finals again. This time they make it to the Bulls, as Michael is completing his second three-peat of titles in 1998. And then the doors open. It's 1999. Michael Jordan's gone for good, maybe, this time. But they lose again to the Knicks in the conference finals. Again. In 2000, finally, they bust through the door. They make it to the NBA Finals. There's nobody left in the East that can challenge them. Just in time for another team to begin winning their 3 consecutive championships. They lose to the Los Angeles Lakers in 6 games.
It's that same coach, goddammit.
This football keeps fucking getting pulled away from the Pacers. This is how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in 7 years that they make it to the conference finals and fail to win it all. So, they're a very good team in this time period. But they can't take these opportunities when Jordan's out of the league, And when Jordan's in the league, there's no shot for them.
Yeah.
So we come to sort of the end of Reggie Miller's career. It's 2004. The Pacers, they lost in the conference finals again last season to the Detroit Pistons, who came out of nowhere to win the 2004 NBA championships. They end the Lakers' string of consecutive titles, and the Lakers had just super teamed their roster that season. They got Gary Payton and noted pedophile Karl Malone, who were both very good players at the time. But they lose to the Pistons in the finals. And the Pistons, they roll through the Pacers on the way there. But the Pacers have picked up 2 more young All-Stars to put around Reggie Miller. Both Jermaine O'Neal and Ron Artest were All-Stars in the 2003-2004 season. So they're looking good. They're primed to give it one last run at it. Reggie Miller announces that he's retiring after this season. So they're looking for their last dance moment, Except they haven't won 6. They're just trying to win 1.
Yeah.
First and last
first
dance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
continue to cover this incident between
this shit happens.
And the Detroit Pistons fans.
So the teams get into a scuffle. A fan throws a cup here at Ron Artest, who's decided to take a nap on the scorer's table, and he goes fucking ballistic.
All right, either playing in them or watching them. This is the worst thing I've ever seen.
Well, the age of electronics
Yeah.
is kicking in because I just got a big
Pistons fans start spilling onto the court.
One of the things he's taking issue with.
Everyone's
is us
fucking
sitting up
going
here
at
right
it.
now and basically saying that it was
The game gets
justified
canceled.
for those players to go into those
This
games. He says there's no
this
justification.
revenge game for the
Regardless of
Pacers
the
against the
players,
Pistons, who knocked them out of the playoffs,
Holy shit.
goes completely to shit.
What I'm trying to say is that you can definitely empathize with the reaction of someone who was involved in a
Yeah,
very volatile
so-
and emotional.
Continue to cover this.
That's gonna be a problem. This is known as the Malice at the Palace. This happened at the Palace of Auburn Hills, which is where the Pistons play. And their new All-Stars, Ron Artest and Jermaine O'Neal, they're going to be on the bench for a while. Ron can't play for the rest of the season. He's suspended for 86 games, which is a record.
Punching the fan?
For punching the fan, yep. Steven Jackson, also a really good young player for them, suspended 30 games. This derails the
Yeah.
Pacers season.
Yeah, you can't punch the fan.
You can't punch
Can't
the
do
fan.
it.
And
Can't
the thing about it is that he was trying to go after the person who threw that cup at him, and he punches the wrong guy.
Oh.
So, yeah, this
Did
is
they ever talk? Did the guy forgive him?
I don't think so. Yeah, so this is an infamous moment, and this is the way that Reggie Miller's Pacers career ends. They meet up with the Pistons in the playoffs that year, and the Pistons beat them, and Reggie Miller retires ringless.
And sad.
And sad. And probably kind of angry, if I'm being
Yeah.
honest. I'd be pissed. Because you could see him in that video. He's not playing that game. He's walking Ron off of a court, off the court, and he's in a suit, you know? So, like, yeah. It's a dark day for Pacers fans. They, they kind of lost their shit there. So that happens. This is kind of, well, I guess this is before you were in college,
from the
right?
Clippers.
This is what's happening. Yeah, Paul George is here, and he's really good, and he leads the Pacers to their favorite place, the conference finals. They get to the conference finals in 2012 and 2013, and they get LeBron both times. They lose to the
There's
Heat.
just always somebody that they don't have.
Yeah, exactly. They never have the big guy. You
But
know?
I guess that's like kind of hindsight bias, because if they won, then they would have the guy.
Yeah. One thing about the NBA is that if you're a small market team like the Pacers are, you're going to have to build your team a little bit differently than the Miami Heat, where people want to live in Miami, you know? It's popping. And LeBron, he does that whole thing on ESPN in 2010 where he has the Boys and Girls Club behind him. He had the decision. He says, I'm taking my talents to South Beach. And who could blame him? Who doesn't want to live the South Beach life?
It's time to win.
Yeah. And the Pacers, can you imagine somebody going on ESPN and saying, I'm going to take my talents to Indianapolis?
All love to Indianapolis, but yeah, it exists almost as a perfunctory place. It
Yeah.
has to exist because a state needs to have at least one city to be like economically viable.
Yeah. So they're going to have to build a little bit differently. They're going to have to move different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think they're kind of doing that right now. The current Pacers, I'm excited about the current Pacers. They got Tyrese Halliburton in a trade with the Kings. He's a two-time All-Star already, and he's only 24. So Pacers fans are hoping that he's going to be their franchise player for years to come. And then this year they made a deal to get Pascal Siakam, who's also made 2 All-Star teams. He won a 2019 championship with the Raptors. He was a key part of that team. And so here's the thing about the NBA. Like, you probably need a top 5 player in the league if you're going to win a title.
Sure.
Very rarely does it happen. The 2004 Pistons are a great example of a team that did it without one. But it's hard to pull something together to be a title-winning team without a really top player. And the Pacers don't have one right now. And I don't really think Tyrese Halliburton is going to turn into that necessarily. But They're the 8th youngest team in the league. They have a good core now. They're on the door of making the conference finals. And maybe there's some hope now that people will want to play with a young star like Tyrese Halliburton.
Is this like how you're describing them right now? Is this what somebody might have said about like Steph Curry when he like first got on the Golden State Warriors?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's a good call. I think there are a lot of parallels between the way that the Warriors are building their team. Obviously, Tyrese wasn't drafted by the Pacers,
Sure.
so but
he's already an all.
But I think the thing is that they have a lot of flexibility because around these two players are players that they've drafted and developed internally or gotten kind of as like secondary parts of deals. They're not doing what the Suns are doing and allocating a lot of their cap space to like 3 really big players, you know? These 2 players, they're not going to be they're not like bad contracts that they're going to be stuck with for years to come, you know? I think the Pacers have flexibility to build a roster that's going to be a playoff team for a long time. So, yeah, I think that they're a pretty exciting team, you know? And Indiana has this basketball culture. It's a good time to maybe get in on Indiana basketball in general now that Caitlin Clark plays for the Fever, the WNBA team. You know, so maybe that's a bit of a package deal here. But the Pacers have kind of... They've always either been knocking at the door or they've just been a team that everybody doesn't think about, you know?
What's the youngest team?
I think it's the Spurs. The only younger teams in the playoffs are the Magic and the Thunder in the league. So... The 8th youngest is like it's like a really good spot to be in for being this far in the playoffs, you know?
God, the youngest team with the oldest coach.
Right, yeah. Yeah, they're rebuilding for sure. Around Victor Wembanyama, that freak. So, yeah, we got a game 7 tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's at 12:30. Will they lose in the conference finals again to the Celtics if they make it there? Probably. But will it be fun to watch them try? I think so. I like this team. Watching that last...
Is this final game in New York or at home?
It's in New York. Yeah. So, odds are kind of against them. I think the series has gone. The home team has won every game so far. So, they're going to have to make something happen at Madison Square Garden if they want to move on. The Pacers and Knicks, it's kind of a rivalry, too, given the Spike Lee choke thing and all the playoff series they've had against each other. So, yeah, this would be a big feather in the cap for the Pacers.
2 teams with a basketball in their logo whose names refer to things that have long since faded out of popular knowledge.
Yeah, they're antiquated for sure. But, yeah, I think this will be a fun game. I'll be rooting for the Pacers. I don't know. The Knicks are kind of they're kind of similar to the Pacers. They don't really have like
Madison Square Garden.
They don't really have like a huge star player either. You know, the Eastern Conference right now is kind of like the Celtics, and then everyone else. So, yeah, it's gonna take some doing for either one of these teams to beat the Celtics, really. But we'll see if the Pacers can get there. Land use. It's land use time, everybody. They play at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, which is, here in downtown Indianapolis.
Downtown, as it were.
No huge parking lot. I think their parking is, like, underground.
There's the whole city is half parking lots, so...
Yeah, it's not, it's not a metropolis, I would say.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
They do have this downtown football stadium here, Lucas Oil Stadium, which is kind of unusual.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, cool, but that's not.
Well,
this place.
I mean, I don't know. I'm ragging on Indianapolis because it is it is like a hell urbanism city, where all these things that you're saying as pros, they would be very much pros if it wasn't for, and you can even see it in the overhead. This the land use profile of the city generally is just kind of atrocious.
Yeah, they got this grid going on, and there's not much really within the grids.
Yeah. It definitely is a city that was not given much of a chance to flourish due to, parking.
Yeah.
They can turn it around. There's nothing stopping them. But
one thing, I mean, I saw on the Wikipedia page that like in 2015, this was voted like the best arena in the NBA or something. But that was a while ago, and I don't know if they've renovated it. But apparently, it's a pretty cool place to go and watch a game. And one thing that I forgot to put in here is that we will probably actually have a chance to go and see a Pacers game because we're going to be in Indiana during basketball season next year.
Oh yeah.
So if we want to, we could make that happen. That might be cool.
I would do that. I would go to their game with you, Mikey. There's not going to be any. There's no IU games you're interested in.
I'll go to any sports game, Jack.
Yeah, I know.
Literally anything. I went to a Portland Pickles game, as I mentioned a couple episodes ago, and I had a great time. So yeah, the Pacers. I think they're an interesting team. I think it's a good time to start being a Pacers fan also. Nobody's going to blame you for being a fan of the team that's in your college town, kind of, you know. Not really.
An hour and a half north. Maybe.
It's close enough, you know. Yeah. And nobody is going to say that you're a front runner for being a Pacers fan.
Sure.
You know, and they have this young and exciting core, I think, that they're building around. So
yeah, it really is rubbing up against my dislike of Indianapolis just generally. It's just such like a suburb city to me, where the city is just it exists in service of the suburbs rather than the other way around. And I would like to see them have their own identity. And maybe it's changed, or it is changing or something. And maybe these teams can help lift them out, right? They're right there downtown. You know, they're right there for the taking to make it walkable.
I've always thought something similar about being from Phoenix. It's like we are such a city devoid of any like inherent culture.
So much worse.
Like all of the culture in our city comes from, you know, like the sort of Chicano culture that has grown up here. You know, like I guess there's a lot of Midwestern people that move here and kind of come with their own sort of, you know, allegiances and life experience and what have you. But as somebody who is born and raised in Arizona, like, what do I really have to cling on to? And the void has been filled by sports for me. You know, sports are a large part of the reason why I find pride in being from Arizona. And maybe Indiana and that basketball culture can sort of do the same thing for you, you know, like give you a reason to be proud of your association to the state of Indiana, you know?
Yeah. And maybe the owners can lobby the state government to legalize light rail.
Yeah.
It is
that
illegal.
Would be great. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything around here.
It is illegal.
Yeah.
By law for them to build light rail.
That's fucking crazy. Even we have that, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. We didn't talk about the Pacers ownership. I didn't even really look into it. I'm sure it's just...
Who cares?
I'm sure it's just some white dude. The fact that I haven't heard anything about them before is probably good, you know?
Let's see. Pacers... it's not. It doesn't even show up if you do just Pacers into Wikipedia. You have to say Indianapolis.
Herb
Pacers.
Simon.
That is a man on the verge of death.
Yeah, he is 89 years old.
He has seen too much.
We'll see what happens after that.
Herbert. They don't even make that name anymore.
He married Miss Universe in 1988.
In 2002.
Yeah.
So he was 68? I don't know. Let's see.
Interesting.
Real estate developer, classic. He's
Yeah.
from Brooklyn. So the fact that his team has such a rivalry with the Knicks maybe is informed by that.
Man, he's been the owner since 1983.
That's what I'm saying. He's seen it all. He has failed to deliver for his team.
He's got 10 kids.
So who's going to take over when he kicks it?
Honestly, honestly, the shorter the Wikipedia page for an owner, the better, I say.
That's true.
Yeah. So get it while the
Crazy. My
getting's good.
grandpa's older than this guy. I have an old grandpa. He's 90.
Wow. Goddamn. I don't know, Jack. What do we think? What do we think about the Indiana Pacers?
I'm just thinking about how my grandpa remembers World War II. Maybe. Yeah. What do we think about the Pacers? I'm excited. Their last game was very exciting. I'd like to see if they beat their rivals. But I don't know that I could ever fully commit to being. I don't know. So this is something I've been grappling with a little bit in the background. Is like, do people just have opinions on teams that they're not going to buy a jersey for? Like, can I be a fan of them, like, lightly? Can I like them without calling myself truly a fan?
I think that you should just buy the jersey.
I don't want the jersey. I'm just saying, like,
I
should have a jersey for every...
I think you need to want the jersey. I think the team won't come about until you want the jersey.
Okay, so that's the minimum bar for being able to say, yeah, I'm a Pacers fan, is if you're willing to buy merch.
Yeah. You got to have at least
You
one
have to rep
item.
the logo.
You know?
Okay.
I've got something for all of my teams, you know?
Okay. How many teams is that?
I have plenty of Suns jerseys. I got a Coyotes jersey. I got a Cardinals shirt. I don't really give a shit about it. I got a nice Diamondbacks hat. Arizona Cardinals, not St. Louis Cardinals, to be clear. Got Diamondbacks hat. I have a bunch of...
That awakens something in me.
I have like 5 Inter jerseys, and then I have a Phoenix Rising FC jersey and shirt. So
International is maybe your primary team besides the Suns.
Definitely, yeah. I think they're the team that I care about. Those teams, maybe equally even. I would say.
Yeah, you're the last real Italian American.
That's right, baby. Pizza pie. I have the sign up there. I got the Inter sign up there, and then I have a little Suns hoop on top of my CRT.
Yeah.
So I'm repping out here, you know. But yeah, you're gonna have to buy the jersey at some point, Jack, or at least a shirt or something.
For somebody.
Somebody.
All I've got is I've got an Oakland A's hat. I've got a Bulls cup. No, I don't. Actually, that was my parents in that picture. And then I've got this this shirt with the history of the White Sox on it.
Maybe I'll do it.
Not a real team.
I'll do it for you as a present, you know, so you don't even have to worry about the cost.
You have to pick a team from this show.
No, you pick the team, and then I purchase you merchandise for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. I would rather you purchase yourself Baldur's Gate.
I guess that's true.
We get in.
Yeah.
And make some memories on the over in the Sword Coast.
In the Feywild.
Yeah.
As it were. In Faerun, yeah.
Of Faerun.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe we'll do both. But
you haven't broken me. This is still show a gamer or a sports team.
But we need to plan our Sunday now, because
yeah,
we've got the Premier League tomorrow at 8 a.m. We've got Gommel, so maybe we're gonna be like dual screening Gommel and sports until this Pacers game is over. If you want to watch it.
Yeah, I'll do it all. I'll be up at 8. I'll be watching Gommel. I'll be watching that shit.
We'll have a big old VoIP about it.
We'll VoIP it up.
Swag. Okay. Thanks for watching another episode of Looking for Team with Jackzilla. It seems like Jack wants to watch most of these teams.
Yeah, I guess that counts.
Maybe I need to come with some real hatred this time. I framed Manchester City in a way that at least the situation
I did not want Man City or Arsenal that much.
Yeah.
I wanted to watch the game just because I like hanging out with my buddies, but I felt nothing towards those teams.
Yeah,
to be clear.
That's fair. But yeah, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I need to come with just like a dud.
Yeah.
And try my damnedest, but fail. You know?
You got to learn what failure feels like.
We'll see. All right. We'll see you next time on Looking for Team with Jackzilla. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.